there, sports fans, with Kip Cooper.
Hey, what's going on?
And to his right, we got Rod Muttergard.
That's delectable.
That's delectable, that's right. Rod Muttergard here, joining us back from New Mexico. A high school football star there. He's a fullback, number 49. Why don't you tell us about your days at the Fairfield Falcons, Rod? Introduce yourself to the show.
Well, the old blue and black Fairfield Falcons, we had a pretty good run of it in District 8. We were champs 3 years running.
That's an impressive feat. District 8, too. That's a tough division.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people talk big on Texas football, but District 8, New Mexico, we really had it going on down there.
That's excellent. That's excellent. Sounds really good. So, Kip, man, we had a wild card weekend, don't you think?
I was blown away with everything that happened.
Overall thoughts? Give me some impressions.
I mean, you gotta say RG3 hurt. I mean, come on, that's number one.
You might have said something about that, I think, before.
When I said
prediction, maybe
that he was going to get
come in and say
30 yards in the first quarter and go down with a knee injury, I didn't want it to actually happen. Okay, the Kipper, he may say some mean things, but he doesn't actually want people to get hurt. It's just I have to do the pain train, right?
It's a prediction. It's in fun.
But just the fact that Shanahan would have him out there, you know, what was the final score of that game?
24-14.
I mean, that's ridiculous.
Probably shouldn't have been playing in that maybe that late anyway. He looked kind of hurt from the start, but we'll get to that later.
Okay. Yeah.
We'll get to that. We don't want to delve too much into it. Let's start maybe AFC.
All right, let's do it.
Let's start AFC. Overall, the first game anyway was the Bengals-Texans. Texans clearly winning. We all kind of, well, I maybe not thought it, but
closer than we thought, though.
It was a close game. Kipper pretty much had it right on. Rod, I mean, what did you think of the Bengals-Texans game? How did you think, Matt Schaub?
I mean, I was lucky enough to be there. I mean,
that's right, actually.
I get out to see Cincy whenever I can. I mean, come from New Mexico. I know it's kind of weird being a Bengals fan and all, but you got to give it up to the foam claws.
The foam. Excellent. That's excellent.
I feel that.
Schaub looked pretty good. I mean, 1.5 years out there, he looked real good. I mean, solid performance. I don't think he's going to be able to do as good as this week as next week. I think he's going to get blown out of the water. But I mean, with Cincy's defense and the ball hawking they do, I mean, I think he put up some pretty decent numbers.
That's true. I mean, consider it. You're right. I mean, Cincinnati have been coming in averaging giving up 13 points per game, I think, over the last 8 or so. So, I mean, really, yeah, you did do the 1 pick six, but overall they moved the ball and they were smart enough to give the ball to Arian Foster over and over and over.
Yeah, that was a really good move by the Texans. I mean, if they knew what their horses were and they put them out there, you know. They weren't messing around. They started the game with a game plan. Give the ball to Arian Foster, and then just dink and dunk with Owen Daniels.
Yeah, absolutely. Owen Daniels had 9 receptions, 91 yards in that game. I mean, that's
impressive for.
Was there anybody in the middle of the field? Because I mean, right, Arian Foster. That's all he did was run up the middle of the field. Owen Daniels, all he did was run up the middle of the field and catch it. I mean. That's an issue for Cincinnati looking at next year.
If I can ask, what was the atmosphere of the game?
You were down there.
It was a pretty hyped crowd outside. Before I got in, everybody got real excited. Lots of tailgating going on. You know, plenty of drink, plenty of good food out there.
Sounds like a good time.
Some pretty wild fans.
Nice.
Once we got in, pregame was pretty good, but it was still hyped. But as the game was, a little closer at first, it kind of hushed, muddled crowd. Till we finally got the lead going out there, and then the Houston crowd really let everybody know how it was doing.
As a Bengals fan, though, was everyone hating on you?
No, really. I kept it low key. I mean, I didn't.
That's probably good. Did you come disguised in
a jersey or anything like
Schaub jerseys? Maybe came disguised.
That's a good idea, actually.
No. Well, that's good. I mean, well, last week we had the Kipper here. He had his prediction for the piece of shit of the week was the law firm. He didn't. Yeah. He did okay for the running. We had 11 carries, 63 yards. You weren't too far off. His out of the backfield. You're right. He wasn't really a stud back there. 2 receptions, -9.
I told you he was gonna be a piece of shit. I don't lie about these things. I mean, yes, he actually did pretty good out of the backfield.
He was actually one of the better players for that Cincinnati team that day, at least.
Well, absolutely, but I mean, he was still a piece of shit player on a piece of shit team. That's all I'm gonna say.
All I was gonna say.
That's all I'm gonna say.
I thought personally the biggest problem was just no targets at all for AJ Green in the first half. 0 targets. He's your best player. Big star, you know. Give him the ball. He's your playmaker. Let him do something.
Even if he had been targeted, I don't know if the balls would have came in anywhere near him. He could have probably caught any of those.
That's true. Andy Dalton wasn't exactly a stud in his first game.
terrible.
14 for 30.
Junk.
127.
Junk.
1 interception.
Junk.
Kip Cooper, you have a place for Andy Dalton.
I'm gonna put this guy in the junk drawer, okay? Right next to the rubber bands, the screwdrivers, the deck of cards.
He's absolutely
Andy Dalton,
jumped
right there.
this week. I think joining him, again the other AFC game there, Indianapolis Colts and Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
I think another Andy kind of has to jump in. I mean, he maybe not overall as bad. You know, a lot more yards, about 50% of his completion percentage anyway.
One Andy Luck.
One Andy Luck. I'd say pretty much all Andys. We'll probably just go ahead and throw Andy Reid right in there too.
Yeah.
Taking on. What do you think? What are your thoughts on this, Rod?
Came right to nowhere.
Yeah, took the dream team. And not to mention the talent that's around him. I mean, I'd like to see what he does there with Jamal Charles. Ignore him for a little while longer.
Yeah, exactly.
Rod, you're expecting some big things from LaShawn McCoy now this year. Now that Andy Reid's not going to be there to ignore him, should feel a little less neglect from the new guy.
I definitely think he's going to get a lot more carries. You're going to see a lot more yards coming out of him from the backfield. I think his reception numbers are going to go down a little bit, but I think he's still always going to be a threat to the outside. Just get him the ball out there.
Absolutely, he's quick.
Buzz,
Shady McCoy.
What really got this Indianapolis game was Bruce Arians.
Get back to the game here. All right. Well, yes, you're right.
Bruce
what happened
Arians.
before the game?
Okay. The whole season, Chuck Pagano, he's had cancer. He beat it. He's courageous. Chuck Strong. Then, it was like he fired up the team when Bruce Arians took over, and they've done great. So this morning, he got sick and didn't make it to the game or something, and they lost. So that's
flu-like symptoms. I think is what it was.
Flu-like symptoms.
You're right. He couldn't make the game. I thought, I almost thought that might have been the inspiration.
It's Bruce Arians not being there.
I thought that was going to be what they needed to kind of overcome. We had our last week, the big momentum game is what we talked about is Chuck Strong versus Ray Lewis's last game in Baltimore. And Chuck Week.
It was weak.
What happened this week anyway?
It wasn't Andy Luck. It was Chuck Week, man.
Ray Lewis on the meanwhile, leading the team in tackles. He came up pretty big.
Historic.
I mean, he dropped that one duck that Andy Luck threw. Kind of dropped that one, but otherwise pretty solid. I mean, lots of tackles. Rod, what did you think of Ray Lewis's big game back? First game back from injury.
I mean, all the hype was surrounding him. I mean, he was going to be hyped up, going to go crazy. Could possibly been his last game, so he was going to give it his all. Definitely put up a strong performance. I don't know if, all the hype's behind him and stuff, but I think a lot of people forget that he is a murderer. I don't know if he should.
Yeah, allegedly. We tiptoe on that. That's true. He's got, he's fierce.
The momentum was too great.
He's passionate.
The momentum was
player,
too great.
Maybe
None of those guys were going to be able to
situations.
look Ray Lewis in the eye if they lost. Or he would have murdered them.
Allegedly.
Allegedly.
Yeah, they pretty much had to win that game.
They had to.
Andy Luck on the other side looking kind of like poo, kind of like shit there. I mean, he's a rookie going against a veteran defense. So
he's a rookie.
I thought that was about what I expected. He did good considering, but I think a lot of people had a lot of hope for him. Didn't come through this week, and I'm not saying I'm too disappointed in that. I'm kind of glad to be over with it. Junk drawer, throw him in there. All the Andys this week.
Junk drawer, throw him
Join
in there.
Andy Reid and Andy Dalton.
The Andys, Andy Reid. All the other Andys. The mountains.
Yeah, the Andes. The Andes, I think we.
Yeah.
How about the candies too as well?
Yeah, why not?
Those are good. The mints.
Yeah.
I think we should keep those out of the drunk drawer.
Yeah.
Keep them out of the drunk drawer. Yeah, actually, those are good.
Those
we
dirty.
want. Those get dirty. They would get like chocolate all over everything else in there too. It'd be gross. All right. Well, let's talk about for next week.
Okay.
In the AFC.
Let's do it.
Enough talk about the losers again. We can move on to the future
winners.
here. The winners.
Who's actually going to be playing for the Super Bowl?
Who's gonna be playing? Yeah, we still got Peyton Manning.
Ooh.
That's kind of the big one. The number one seed. They're hosting Baltimore this week. Baltimore. Ray Lewis momentum for the retiring. Does it hold over this week, Rod?
I don't think it can hold over against Peyton Manning. He's
I don't think so either.
In the postseason. I mean,
relatively.
Everybody questioned him when he came back this year. I think he's proven that he's back. He's just as good as he always would. He's going to lead them definitely to the AFC Championship game.
I think so too. I mean,
that's going to be up in the air. It's probably going to be Denver versus the Patriots. I'm pretty sure.
It's looking like it. It should be cool.
I don't think you really have to worry too much about the Ravens.
What are your thoughts, Skipper? What we got?
I gotta say the Broncos. I mean, they've been riding high. I mean, who's gonna stop them? Who's gonna stop? Can Ray Lewis stop him?
Not alone. Ed Reed's gotta. Yeah. Allegedly, man. Keep dropping that like he was convicted or something.
Yeah. He wasn't.
It's a legend.
It's a legend.
Which is
On to the show.
Anyway. On the other side, we got so Flacco this week.
Yep.
Did awesome, but Flacco at home is kind of a different Flacco than what we get on the road. So this week, Flacco on the road, I'm thinking this might be a reprise of the days he got beat out by Tyler Palko back at UPenn. Yeah, Tyler Palko drop right there.
Ever.
Try to fit him into the show any way we can. So Flacco though, I mean, road Flacco is not home Flacco. So this is road Flacco this week. Any of you guys expecting anything good?
121 yards with 2 picks.
2 picks.
And I think one of those picks is gonna be
one of your things. All right,
Champ Bailey.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Champ Bailey, we have here the segment
off the marquee matchup.
Yes, off the marquee matchup. So this week we're going for this game. Let's go with some another old timers.
Old timers.
Big game last week for one Anquan Bolden.
Mm-hmm.
He's be playing against at least some of the time Champ Bailey. So I mean, between this wheelchair race, Rod, first impressions.
Days of Thunder.
Days of Thunder, or
a total recreation of Days of Thunder wheelchair scene.
Pretty much.
It's gonna be. It's going to be incredible. It's going to be a little belligerent over there on the sidelines on those street routes. It's going to be a battle all day of the old timers.
Yeah,
I think it's going to be a battle all day.
I completely agree.
A battle I think Champ Bailey wins.
2 picks. You heard it.
2 picks. Do you think both of them, Champ, or just the one? I mean,
Flacco will have the 2 picks.
Flacco will have the second one.
The other will be at
probably Ed Reed.
No, because he can't throw it to his own player.
Sorry. Getting mixed up.
He might. I mean, he is that bad on the road. He might just throw
That's what Flacco we're talking about here, man.
Yeah.
You never know.
He's a Jekyll and Hyde. It's the story of this game. Jekyll and Hyde.
Well, they did put Ray Lewis out there on offense for the last play, so maybe they're going to do something like that to Ed Reed. I don't know. I guess it wouldn't count as an interception necessarily. Anyway.
The Broncos are winning this game.
Broncos definitely winning this game.
Kipper believes the Broncos are winning this game.
What do you have for a score on this game, Kipper?
31-19. Broncos.
Nice. That's pretty close to what their previous game was, I think, a couple weeks
ago.
All right, well, that's fine.
Why would it be any different?
Let's move on to the other one. We got Houston visiting. I guess they're visiting. We kind of think just turn right around right now, not about to go on the trip, but they're heading to New England.
Just go home.
Save themselves. Yeah. Well, maybe they get frequent flyer mileage. They can use it for next year. Flying around the preseason and regular season.
It's the helmets, man.
It's the helmets. Yeah, we have
Battle of the helmets.
The discussion on the logos here. The star on the hat for the Patriots, star on the eye for the Texans.
Same thing.
Almost the same logo here, both red, white, blue. Texans of course coming out after, almost slightly a ripoff, and then when you kind of look further back, you realize that the Houston Oilers one is almost kind of a ripoff of the...
It's the same thing. Pat the
Patriot.
And whatever the oil rig's name is. The Houston called the oil rig. I don't know.
Jerry.
Yeah, let's say Jerry for all intensive purposes.
Sure.
They're the same logo. So you'd think they'd be the same team, but they're not. The Patriots are going to wallop them.
You think wallop?
Yeah.
What do you have for the off the marquee matchup?
Okay, Gerard Mayo of the Patriots, he's their captain. their centerpiece. He is the thing that stirs the drink, okay? And he's going to be going up against Owen Daniels, like we talked about earlier, coming out of the backfield, dink and dunk.
He's good.
It's going to be all about that third down dink and dunk. And if Gerard Mayo can stop the dink and dunk, and Owen Daniels can't get the dink and dunk, put him in the junk drawer.
Put him in the junk drawer.
Ooh, really call the junk drawer.
Well, who do you think? So you're saying maybe Owen Daniels in the junk drawer this week?
If Gerard Mayo can step up his game in this off the marquee matchup, perhaps. I mean, you'll have to listen to the recap to really find out.
No. Let's get to this. Actually, how about the piece of shit prediction from the AFC?
Okay.
We do a thing where we think who's going to really come up short. I mean, let the team down. Not like some average guy, but a big guy that's going to really not come through when they need it most. Who's going to be the piece of shit this week for the AFC? Let's start with you, Rod.
Piece of shit for the AFC.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with, I think it's going to be Joe Flacco. He's just going to be erratic all day.
We got we got Road Flacco.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to be able to get done. He's not going to find his targets. He's just going to be missing high, low, short. He's going to be on his ass. They're going to have to dry clean his jersey right after.
Yeah. All right, Kipper, who you got in this one?
Okay.
Piece of shit.
Stephen Ridley is going to run for 6 carries and 20 yards. He's going to fumble on his 6th carry, and Belichick's not going to put him back in the game.
That might happen.
He does have a history there.
He does it all the time.
Belichick's not going to settle for his shit.
So I think that's going to make it so the Patriots look a little less invincible.
All right, I'm actually going to go with John Harbaugh this week.
Ooh.
I just feel like he's going to make a bad call early, maybe on a challenge, or maybe choose not to challenge. Something early, I think, and that's just going to set the tone from there on, and Denver's not going to look back. I think he gets out-coached this week. Road Flacco is Road Flacco. And
is he Road Harbaugh this week, is what you're saying?
Road Harbaugh, this week.
Yeah.
Road Falco is Road Phallic this week.
All right. Here's a segment I got right here where I predict who's gonna get an injury this week. This is the Kippers Pain Train. Woo, woo.
That's right, the Kippers Pain Train. Who's gonna ride the Kippers Pain Train this week, Kipper?
Kevin Walter, dislocated spine. It's gonna be rough.
Terrible. I hope that doesn't happen. It's gonna be rough. How's it gonna happen?
How is it gonna happen?
Well, I mean, any prediction. I mean, we don't have to. I don't mean.
He's gonna be tying his shoe in the pregame, and it's just like here's a snap, and it's gonna be that simple, really.
Well, best of luck to him. Hopefully, he's okay.
Well, I was right last week. Let's get on to the NFC.
Let's get on to the NFC before we can gloat. Right, so we can all kind of glow.
That was Kipper's Pain Train.
Let's start with the Saturday night game. That one was, of course, Minnesota coming up pretty short to the Packers. We had an interesting turn of events there. So, Leslie Frazier, I'm not sure what his kind of thought process was this week, or lack thereof.
You really want to see that in Minnesota.
Maybe that was it. It was a plea to be fired.
He was smoking Sherm, man. That's what was happening.
Something wasn't coming through.
He's got some real big plans coming up the next couple of weeks. He needs to get out of work.
Yeah, I think that might be it. You have big plans next week, and his daughter's getting married. He couldn't get the day off from Hawaii. Yeah. He's not going there for the Pro Bowl, though.
He didn't want to stick around and have to go anywhere.
No. Well, he knew Ponder was sore. Questionable. And they kind of were like, yeah, he's playing, no problem. And, Saturday still, no problem. And then Sunday comes, and, Saturday comes, the team doesn't know that who's starting for sure at this point. They're like, well, he's sore, but you gotta let the team know. Joe Webb ends up coming into play. He gets told he's playing basically hours before, not prepared at all. He took, I guess, some snaps because Ponder was a little limited during the week, but overall, his team didn't know. They didn't plan for it. Completely. It comes up short as a coach. What thoughts, Kipper?
Okay.
God, give me some feedback on this.
What sounds like possibly a great idea, our quarterback's hurt. They have no idea what this guy can run. let's go out there, surprise these guys. They ran 14 runs in a row.
Yeah, it was actually great. The first series, I was a believer. Okay, they had Joe Webb out there. They ran it just over and over and over, and it was gonna work. They didn't know if it was Adrian Peterson running it or Joe Webb running it, and then
something amazing happens.
Joe Webb throws the ball, and the Packers knew from the duck that left the moment he kind of threw back his arm in some weird.
It was when a
motion.
bird. It's like a bird gets pushed out of the nest
for the first time,
and it doesn't actually fly.
That was basically it.
That was Joe Webb's pass.
That was his first one. His second and third. He's getting tackled. He's kind of threw up these prayers that were just can't be thrown on a professional level. The poor guy. I don't really. I have some sympathy for him. He didn't really prepare for this. You could tell he was just kind of really amped and just tight.
In Lambeau,
that's just it. It was cold. He is adrenaline. I'm sure it was just too much for him. The nerves was just too much. I don't blame him really. Wesley Frazier really got to kind of prepare somebody a little bit more for, I think, a situation like that.
I don't even know if the guy knew the playbook.
Probably not. But from the moment he passed, the Packers knew he couldn't throw it for the life of him, and they just rushed the box and. Rod, what did you think? It looked like they just kind of knew what was coming.
And thinking about it, coming into the game, you know that your quarterback's not going to play. You think maybe you're going to get one up on your rival because they're not going to know what's happening. But I think you need to give that kid a chance in practice to really get a feel for what's going on. I can't just throw him in the middle of a division rival.
I think you're right.
He's on something there.
Maybe maybe you're right. Maybe he thought Wesley Frazier thought he could pull a fast one on him and they wouldn't be expecting it, and he pulled it on his team.
They just played him, so they probably thought
this would be good.
This will switch it up. Wow, the Packers won't see it coming, and then he threw that.
His own team didn't see it.
You figure everybody can just jump on back, and they're gonna run to the win, but. If you don't have a passing game to back it up, you can't run anywhere, and that's really what led to the downfall of the whole thing. Was just Joe Webb not ready, too young, should have been in there.
Yeah, Peterson had less than 100 yards. It was
99. I guess less. But for the Packers, considering how they played against them this year, that was
damn good.
That's without about the best.
Damn good.
Yeah, 100 yards, shorter than his last previous low of the year against them. So that was, they pretty much handled that one. Joe Webb again, we said not very good, kind of. We won't throw him in the junk drawer because he didn't really. He didn't really have it coming in. He wasn't expecting it.
He can go in the drawer next to the junk drawer. It's like the knife drawer.
Frazier maybe.
Oh, he's
junk this week. We're not high on that.
Cool.
Moving on to the other one
not
though.
Cool to do.
Not cool. The other NFC game. A lot of 24s. That's the popular number to win with this week actually.
Bizarre.
Green Bay winning 24-10. I think, the Seahawks won 24-14 and the Ravens won 24-9. So top 24 was the popular number this week. So Seahawks winning that game. It was interesting. Redskins came out really strong. The crowd was loud.
I was surprised.
They were pumped. I kind of saw it coming once they scored the first one. And, basically they were just so pumped. The crowd was loud. And the defense was just really amped up. And they couldn't march on lunch. They couldn't really run it too well against him at first, but by the time the second quarter and then the rest of the game, they just wore down, and it was, Seattle was definitely just the more physical team, and it showed over the course of the game. After the second drive, Redskins got nowhere, and it looked like RG3 should have been playing. Rod Kipper, where do you come in on this? RG3, you guys saw him, he didn't look 100%, even the whole game.
Washington's definitely a renewed sports town right now. And you look at last summer with the baseball season, you have the whole Strasburg incident. Mm-hmm. I think really with RG3 kind of being hurt, he's the face of the franchise. They didn't want to go through that whole, if we'd have played it then, we could have won the game.
That's true.
So instead, they lost the game, but...
So you really think that came to thinking?
To try to win that game, the best chance to win that game was to keep RG3 in there.
And I think it shows a lot of hope for next year for Redskins fans.
If he's able to come back, you look at friggin' Adrian Peterson coming back from full knee surgery.
Yeah.
Depending on his injury, where he's going to be, I think it's probable he'll be just as good as he is now.
As a former player, Rod, how do you feel about injured players being allowed to go back out there? Do you think that there should be regulations if someone's got we all know the concussion thing, of course, but leg injuries?
I think it's hard. I mean, if you got to be out there. It's your team. You've been battling all season to get to where you're at. It's the playoffs. It's one and done. If you're not out there, you're going home anyway. Go home in a body bag.
That's right. That's right. Wilson, definitely the best rookie of the week.
Oh, without a doubt.
I mean,
of the year.
Of the year, I agree too. I'm glad. I'm hoping this will maybe catch some wind for some of the other people who haven't. I know, like, they kind of baby stepped him at the beginning of the year, but since week like 7 or so, he's just been.
Well, he was
absolutely
unknown.
on
He
fire.
was drafted late.
He had to compete for the job the whole way. I mean, great story and great numbers this game. 15 for 26, 187.
You're paying $10 million to a backup you thought was going to be your starter.
Isn't that great too, though? I love Pete Carroll's move to
balls.
Absolutely.
Balls.
Because if that didn't pan out, he
Junk
probably would have been fired. He'd be the junk
drawer.
drawer. He'd be
thrown out of the drunk drawer in the trash.
Into the trash. He'd be back begging for his job at like USC or wherever.
Yeah, he'd want to be the Jets coach.
Oh God. Let's not even go there. We don't have to talk about the Jets anymore this year, all right? Let's not even.
Okay,
they're
done.
Let's look for. What was actually no. Who was the piece of shit in the NFC? Who came up short? Junk drawer this week in the NFC. Do we have anybody kind of joining in there? Maybe I guess Leslie Frazier is kind of the only one.
He's junk drawer. You can't say RG3's in the junk drawer because the guy was playing on one leg. I mean,
yeah. Who do you think a better game then, Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers for the two winning quarterbacks this weekend?
I think it's Russell Wilson week in and week out. Rodgers got a little bit of legs, but I think what Wilson does with his legs is he waits for the pass more than looks for the run, and then so when he does run, he's getting 15 to 20.
Yeah, he had some good bursts this game.
He stretches the field out that way and gives him a good chance to get his receivers open.
It does. It helps a lot. 67 yards on the ground this week. It looks pretty good. Looking.
They can't say anyone was a piece of shit on the Seahawks.
Nah, they were all kind of.
They lucked out. Unlike Andy Luck.
Andy Luck. That's right. So they're looking at next week now.
Oh, yes.
Next week's for the NFC.
Yeah.
This is, I think, probably the more exciting games, at least. To me, they seem a little bit less, obvious. Mm-hmm. No offense to Baltimore and Houston. I think they have a chance, but I think it definitely seems Denver, New England, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning.
Yeah, that's a given.
Almost a given there. The other NFC side, though, we got a couple good games. Seattle going into Atlanta. We've been talking about Seattle. Let's stick with that. Kipper, lay it on me, my man. What do you think? First impressions, Seattle. They're saying not as good on the road, but obviously as of late, it's not an issue for them. What do you think?
Russell Wilson isn't. He proved a lot to me this week. But Matt Ryan, he has got it, man. The man has got it.
You think he's got ice in his veins? They call him Matty Ice. You think that's for a reason?
His past playoff performances
is abysmal.
They're terrible.
Terrible. What's another word, Rod? Abysmal, terrible. Give me something else that's crappy. What else describes Matt Ryan in the playoffs?
Matty what?
Something bad anyway. All right. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Continue your
Too many concussions in his JV days.
Yeah, I think so. A lot of hits, fullback. You got to block a lot of guys. All right, Kipper, anyway, you were saying.
Okay, the Atlanta Falcons, they've been horrendous. That's poor and horrendous.
I like it.
They've been horrendous for the past few years in the playoffs. Julio Jones, this is his first chance to really prove himself. He's going to go out there and prove himself when he's going over Earl Thomas and Cam Chancellor and Tony Gonzalez. Remember, these guys might be tall cornerbacks. Tony Gonzalez is like 6'8". The man's a giant. He's going to be over them.
Okay, so that's actually for us. That's for the segment here.
Off the marquee matchup.
That's right. We're going off the marquee or off the mark key matchup, whichever is worse. We're going speed versus strength. Atlanta's got the speedy, outside receivers. We got Roddy White, Julio Jones. And then on the other side, Seattle, the secondary, the Legion of Boom. Brandon Browner, Optimus Prime, Richard Sherman, Cam Chancellor, my main man. He's drilling, RG3 kind of late hits /
He was your best man, right?
Yeah, he's my best man. And Earl Thomas, the Duke of Earl. And in strength versus speed, my man Rod, who do you got in this one? Who comes out on top?
I think Seattle comes out on top. I mean, it's going to be close, but I think they're going to beat and bang their way. They're just going to physically
That's what I
dominate.
think, is that over time.
I mean, it comes down to, I think, offensively for Atlanta, how good is Michael Turner going to be? Is he physically going to be able to make it through this game?
That's right, the burner Turner.
The junk drawer Turner.
Junk drawer Turner.
If
Burner
Turner
Turner.
in the junk drawer, it's all going to be left in Matty Ice's hands to throw the ball. And they're going to know what's going on, they're just going to shut him down.
That's it, absolutely. And the secondary has the skills to stop that potent offense.
You never know what Turner you're going to get, if you're going to get the one who's going to beat up through the middle and run it outside, or is he going to be the one that takes the flock and doesn't come back?
I'm thinking the latter.
You were thinking the Seahawks?
Well, no, I just meant the latter for Burner Turner there.
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
absolutely, yeah, I'm definitely thinking Seahawks too here. They're definitely the hot team. They remind me of they're definitely kind of like the Giants run last year, where they get hot at the end and they have, basically they're running a hot defense and smart play.
But the Giants Forrest Gump their way through the playoffs.
Of course, they kind of lull everybody. Everyone thinks they
everyone's
them.
they
That's
just
like their
getting
card.
good situations.
Seattle at least is turning some heads. People are kind of scared of them. They're definitely a physical team. Kipper, you seem to be leaning towards the Falcons. You think speed versus strength? You think the edge with Tony Gonzalez is the strength that speed
I
needs?
do. I think the speed is gonna do it. Roddy White, he's a Pro Bowl wide receiver. Julio Jones could transcend the position. Tony Gonzalez is the best tight end ever, hands down. Ever.
You hear
Can
that,
anyone argue
well,
that?
The Sharps might argue. What if they were combined into one?
They aren't. They aren't.
If they're on the
okay?
same team,
They come
twin
up short.
Sharps.
Does Tony Gonzalez have a brother that's playing?
Maybe. We should look into that.
Okay, we'll get our stat guy on
You
that.
have to come into that. Maybe they can.
Inform us.
Maybe
on
a
that.
brother-in-law at least that they can just
How do
throw
you
on
think
the
he
field.
stacks up against Ben Coates, who really turns position?
Ooh.
Ben Winter Coates.
That's right. What do you think? How about it, Kipper?
Well, Ben Winter Coates was a great player. But Tony Gonzalez is the best ever. He's like the Jerry Rice of tight ends. No one can even just. It's crazy to me. He's a Hall of Famer.
Absolutely,
Hall of Famer,
without a doubt.
And because of that reason,
Tony Gonzalez. I want to get you a little credit here to somebody. Rod Muttergaard, of course, you're the great fullback out of New Mexico, Fairfield Falcons there. We had I thought, a really excellent downfield block. This week's best downfield block of the week. Who are you going to give it to?
I'm definitely going to have to give it to Russell Wilson. More than one time you saw him doing lead blocks for Marshawn Lynch while Marshawn Lynch was busting off 20-plus runs.
This guy is sub 6 foot. Yeah.
They're blocking down the field.
That's excellent. I love it.
Shows heart, man. Shows a lot of heart.
Makes the fullback proud. That's excellent.
Yeah, fullbacks all the way, man.
That's right. And then on the other game, too, we have a rematch of the first game of not the first game of the year, but the first week of the year anyway. Yeah. Green Bay going into San Francisco this time.
It's going to be a tough matchup.
It looks like a tough matchup on both sides. Initial impressions, I feel like they're in San Francisco. So, and San Francisco did beat them last time. I'm leaning towards San Francisco. Kipper, tell me I'm wrong, or am I right?
San Francisco is pretty good. Okay, they've made it. They tied with the Rams. Then they lost.
Yeah, that was
Rams.
their key
That's
victory
not very cool.
of the.
That's not very cool of them.
Not cool of them tying the Rams and
way.
losing to them. I mean, the Rams. I don't know what it was for the Rams. How they got all the beat basically every team in the NFC West. They handled that division, and yet that division handled everyone outside. It's so strange.
That is strange. But the 49ers, their downfall is going to be no Alex Smith. You got one of the better quarterbacks in the league.
See, I think I like the playmaker and Colin Kaepernick. Rod, what do you think, man?
I think Kaepernick has a lot more intangibles.
Absolutely.
You can't pin down what he's going to do. I think Alex Smith is going to sit back there in the pocket for the most part and just take his lickings.
Smith has proven.
But he's not proven in the playoffs.
He won last year. I mean, yes, he didn't go far, but he did win a game and looked quite decent.
I don't think it's right that he was taken out for the concussion. Basically, he lost his job for an injury that they sat him.
You got Drew Bledsoe. You got Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe.
It used to be called. He stepped up the name, but now it's Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah, totally Drew Bledsoe. Not Wally Pipped anymore.
Not Wally Pipped anymore, no.
But I think
Drew Bledsoe
the
now.
goodness of Alex Smith, I think, also falls under system quarterback. That's why Colin Kaepernick was able to come in and succeed right away. Is basically they have a good system set up there.
I think
they have a really great defense.
Yeah, they have a great coach.
And if the Packers don't, McCarthy has a ring.
I guess.
Harbaugh, I'm telling you, it's going to be both Harbaughs in the fucking junk drawer.
At the junk drawer. You like the Packers in this one? Yeah. What do you think? We're going, let's get off the...
Off the market!
That's exactly what I was looking for there.
Let's do it.
This week, or for this game, we got a good one here because we have the lightning rod mutter guard, our fullback specialist, our one player from the game here.
Great
this
numbers.
week we got a decent fullback in Kuhn. The Coon, I know he's a fan favorite. And then hopefully for San Francisco, they have Bruce Almighty Miller coming back from injury. What do you like in this week's fullback breakdown? Give it to us from the previous fullback himself, Rod. What do you got for me?
I really like the Almighty this week.
Almighty. If he plays, he's probable right now. He's looking good.
If he doesn't play, it might not be a game breaker, but it's really good to see him back there. Occasionally he can pound it and average about 3 yards a game. I mean, he looks pretty good out there.
3 yards a game and 2 carries.
I mean, that's out there. He's a warrior.
He's a warrior. I mean, that's the best we can hope for. I mean, that's an excellent game from him.
But Kuhn's a beast.
Coming off of one of his best games of the year with that 3 yards on 2 attempts. And then you think Kuhn though, the Kuhn, he's actually scored a touchdown here. Where he's got a cool.
Kuhn's the man, man.
Yeah, and every time he gets the ball, the crowd likes it.
But they're
going to be in San Francisco.
I feel he's more of a ripoff of Moose Johnson. I just can't get behind it.
Moose Kuhn.
Moose Kuhn. Yeah, it's kind of, I guess so.
Yeah, just woodland animals. Blocking.
Well, how about NFC? What do we think for this week's piece of shit prediction in the NFC? Let's start with the Kipper. Who's your piece of shit prediction?
Okay, my piece of shit prediction for the NFC is totally going to be Jim Harbaugh for starting Colin Kaepernick.
I went with the John. You're going with the Jim.
I'm going with Jim.
Huh. Why is this?
Because he's not starting Alex Smith. When they lose to a really game Packers team,
Packers are looking game.
They're very
That's
game.
one word.
They're gonna go out. They're a game hungry. They're famished. The Packers are famished because they're from Green Bay. They want their brats. They can't get those, so they're gonna feast on 49ers.
Feast on the 49ers.
Yep.
It doesn't sound very good.
It's delicious.
It's delicious. Okay, well that works for piece of shit, I guess. That's the one. Lightning Rod, piece of shit in the NFC.
I'm gonna go Charles Woodson.
Ooh, nice. The old timer vet. He's
gonna come up with an untimely penalty. It's gonna keep the drive alive. That's actually gonna end up winning it.
Like a holding or like a pass interference?
Pass interference for unsportsmanlike conduct.
Ooh, I kind of like that. He's the Champ Bailey of the NFC this week. It looks like.
I like it.
But. Probably not. Well, maybe not coming out of the same
Buzz,
side. We'll see.
What we all want to know is who's your piece of shit.
Who do I have a piece of shit? I'm pretty sure on this one because it's almost a guarantee that Matty not so nice in the playoffs. This is piece of shit written all over it. I mean, the last 3 playoff stars is just like flush them.
Flush them.
They're clogged. They're clogged in the toilet. You can't even like get a plunger to get these things rid of it. They need to forget those, and I think it's not going to happen this week. Seattle's hot, and Matty Ice is ice cold. Ice cold.
I like it.
You like it.
All right, this week's Kipper's pain train for the NFC.
For the NFC.
Woo! All right, Andy.
Who's riding that?
Okay, Matt Flynn. He's going to be holding a ball, and the kicker is going to come and break his finger, causing his finger to rupture. And it's going to be really brutal. They're going to show it on the sidelines, and people are going to talk about it. But then when Russell Wilson gets hurt later on, it will come into play when Matt Flynn can't quite throw the ball.
Well, hopefully Tavares Jackson has been warming up his point after attempt holds.
I don't know. I don't think he has.
Well, worst come to worst, they can put someone, I think, like, Sidney Rice or Golden Tate, actually, can probably halfway through decent throw the ball. Maybe if they're lucky, they can trade for Joe Webb before the game, just as insurance. I think that they're probably looking to do that. Maybe
I heard Joe Webb's going to the Pro Bowl this year.
I think Joe Webb and Leslie Frazier need to go to maybe like Arizona or Chicago, some sort of team with as a package deal.
They need a good running back.
They can turn a team around. Maybe
along with the center from Washington.
Along with the center from Washington. Who anyone else? I thought he was like purposely trying to hurt those quarterbacks out there. He's just throwing the ball. Like, he basically broke RG3's leg. I'm blaming him for that one. Well, anyway, we'll wrap this up. We don't want to take too much of your time. Thank you for listening, as always. We'll check in next week, and we'll give you a breakdown, see how our predictions held up, see how the games end up going.
As always.
Last words, anyone? Rod, Lightning Rod? Have a good night? Something like that? He's smiling. Yeah. Nodding. That works. Kipper?
As always.
As always.
Kip Cooper. As always.
As always. That's what he says. Clickety clack. This is Buzz Birch. I'm here with Kip Cooper and Rod's Lightning Rod. And so, this is it, folks. Have a good night.
Bye.
This has been Unsportsmanlike Conduct. Tune in next week for more hard-hitting coverage of the games you care about.